Tommy Salmons. This is year 0. Now, finally, part 2 with the author of Project Manticore, Ryan Bunting.
There was a Vietnamese restaurant that opened up in the same shopping center as the Walmart that we used to live near.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Vietnamese restaurant. These guys came from Vietnam and opened up a pho restaurant. I don't know if you know what pho is. It's basically ramen on steroids. It's incredible.
Right.
But
yeah,
they
Beatrix
were really
is my
suffering.
wife. I know what all kinds of food is now.
Yeah, I know. She's my food muse.
Yeah.
Because I'm a food nerd as well, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't heard of this." Like, she had never heard of French onion soup, and I was like, "Here's my recipe." I gave her the recipe. So if you eat a really fucking banging French onion soup, just know it's my recipe.
Awesome.
But yeah, like a lot of these small businesses were struggling to survive with the lockdown, and some of them were brand new. Like, Pho Asia opened maybe 3 months before the lockdown. We went, we sat there, we ate. We actually talked with the owner, and he was like, yeah, Americans eat a lot of solid food all the time, whereas, like, Vietnamese people eat a lot of liquid. They eat a lot of soup.
Right.
And things with, like, bone broths and stuff. And when the lockdown started, we ordered from them, like, 2-3 times a week because we were like, listen, we are voluntarists. We believe in voluntarily supporting the things that we believe in. And we ordered that several times a week just because we were like, dude, you deserve the fucking money. Your food is incredible. And even though we knew that we were moving out of the state within a few months, we paid that business as often as possible to make sure that they stayed afloat. And that's something that Governor Murphy doesn't think about, because he's like, no, we just need to lock down because even if it saves one life, and it's like, dude, is saving a life from illness better than saving 8 lives from poverty?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you just really don't understand unless you come from the school of Austrian economics.
Right. Well, did you see the episode of the Liberty Report? I want to say it was 2 or 3 months ago. Time is a squared circle in 2020, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
But it was Ron Paul was talking about how the suicide rate in 2020 compared to the COVID death rate is like 29-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, why is nobody talking about this? Now, I couldn't find any articles on it because I would have done an episode on it prior to this.
But that's because the mainstream media isn't reporting on that.
Yeah,
they don't give a fuck about that.
I cannot for the life of me find any statistics on the suicide rate of 2020. And with 30 million people being unemployed, it's got to be insane.
Dude, I suffered from depression for 17 years of the 31 years I have spent on this earth. And I am extremely lucky that I get to work from home, own a house, and do all these things. I do not take these things for granted.
Right.
Because I know that I am lucky to have them. However,
and you also know what it means to work for them, to earn them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin is that I know what it's like to be in the position where you may not have the option to work for your living or what have you. So when these lockdowns kicked in, all of my like diehard liberal friends were like, "Oh, but we need to save lives," and it's like, yeah, but at what cost?
Yeah.
You wanna lock down the state for the sake of, let's just say, 1,000 lives, but the businesses lost are going to be in the tens of thousands. And nobody wants to think that far into the future. They want to think of what's happening right now, what's happening in this moment, and they're like, well, we want to save lives right now.
Right.
And that's just, it just never jived with me because I've always sympathized with...
If we can just save one life. If it only saves one life.
If it only saves one life, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Unless it's Donald Trump. Because Trump got COVID, and everyone was like, oh, why don't you fucking die?
I hope he fucking dies.
I hope he fucking dies.
How many times have I said it, man? The best thing about Trump is proving how petulant politics is.
Dude, yeah, no, you are 100% correct in that because, yeah.
I mean, dude, that Wolf Blitzer, Nancy Pelosi,
because the far left likes to fucking moralize. They like to be like, oh, well, we just care about people. We just want people to be safe, and we want people to be healthy. But then Donald Trump gets COVID, and they're like, why don't you fucking die? And it's like, dude. So as long as it saves one life, unless that life is Donald Trump, like, dude.
Have you seen him?
That just goes to show.
He's not a people. Like, no people have orange skin. He has orange skin. He's not a people.
He's the only member of the orange skin race.
He's the anti-people.
Yeah. It's like, dude, so you're all about closing down an overwhelming majority of the economy as long as it saves one person.
Right.
Unless that person is Donald Trump.
That happens to be Donald. Because they would rather the theocracy that Mike Pence is going to bring in than Orange Man bad.
And dude, Mike Pence is not even that fucking bad. Like, look, I'm an anarchist. I don't believe the state should do a goddamn thing.
Mike Pence is worse than Donald Trump.
I don't think the state should exist. But it's like, dude, if you think that Mike Pence is going to be even remotely different than Donald Trump, who the only thing he has done is fucking nothing, like, you're out of your mind.
I think Mike Pence would be worse. I think Mike Pence would get shit done. I think Mike Pence is more politically fucking sound, and he's fucking more strategically capable than Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Trump,
Mike Pence might actually get something done.
Yeah,
I was just saying earlier to my wife and my buddy Tom, who's here. I was like, dude, the best thing a politician can do is nothing.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Donald Trump has done. Whereas Mike Pence would be like, no, fuck this. I am making it so that we have to electroshock the gays. Which, again, that's hyperbole because Mike Pence ultimately, like, they misquote him all the time.
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from. I never even paid attention to it.
Oh, yeah, no. Everyone was like, oh, Mike Pence thinks that the gays should electroshock themselves back to heterosexuality. But all he said was, like, if people wanted to submit themselves to that, they should be able to. And I agree in the sense that if you want to submit yourself to fucking electroshock therapy, go nuts.
Yeah,
it's no skin off my bones.
It doesn't sound like he's advocating for
no.
I don't think he's advocating for the MK Ultra program to be ushered back in. But if you voluntarily, enroll yourself into the MK Ultra program, that's on you, buddy.
Listen, if you voluntarily enroll in MK Ultra, you're gonna get MK Ultra.
Yeah.
End of story. That's it. I mean, you're gonna get exactly what you fucking signed up for.
Whitey Bulger found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did Timothy McVeigh. And Ted Kaczynski.
So dude. Fucking Amy Coney Barrett.
Oh, I want to get to that later. I want to move to Trump though. We started talking about Trump. So I want to move to the Trump.
Yes.
Okay. First things first. Do you have a rooting interest at all in this election?
I do, and it's because I am in the stages of grief.
Who are you rooting for?
I like Jo Jorgensen, the Libertarian candidate.
Okay.
And I know most people are like, oh my God, she was like, BLM. And it's like, oh yeah, there's a difference between the sentiment of Black Lives Matter versus the organization Black Lives Matter. But ultimately that shit becomes pointless.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm literally hanging on to. Like I said, I'm in the stages of grief. I'm bargaining at this point, where it's like,
okay, so
I would like her to win.
She's not going to win. Okay, so what what percentage?
I'm fairly concerned.
What percentage would make you happy though? Like 5% of the vote, or?
I honestly think because Gary Johnson got what, like 13.5% of the vote.
No, he got 3.
I think Jo Jorgensen's going to get like a sizable enough portion of the vote that people are going to be like, wait a minute.
Well, and let's just
there's more than two parties.
Let's set this record straight, because this is the most propagandist bullshit the Libertarian Party's ever done. Gary Johnson got 3% of the vote, which is more of a percentage than any other fucking libertarian ever that's run for, and it made us a valid third party. Dude, write-ins got 7%. Gary Johnson is nothing.
I know.
Yeah, he's did
and that's
nothing.
That's why I say I'm in the bargaining phase. I am
So, but you think she'll get enough to make people kind of like take a step back?
At the very least, turn their head. Yeah,
okay.
Because one of my favorite podcasters, besides yourself, obviously, is Pete Quinones, the free man beyond the wall, and he separated himself from the Libertarian Party a few years ago. And he was confirmed in his separation during the COVID crisis.
Everybody say hi to Pete. Hi, Pete. Boogie,
hi, Pete.
Say hi to Pete.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite podcasters.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete has a great podcast.
In the entire game. Like, everyone at the Libertarian Institute is fucking incredible. Between you, him, and Scott Horton, like, I have everything I need.
Have you listened to, speaking of the Libertarian Institute, just give a small plug. Have you listened to Will Porter and,
no, he's a new ad, and I haven't.
It's Kyle Anzalone. Kyle Anzalone, they used to be Foreign Policy Focus, and Will Porter, they started their own podcast together, and it's really good.
I'm friends with Will Porter on Facebook, but I haven't listened to the new podcast, and that's good. On me. That's on me. I'm just too busy with fucking video games and shit. But yeah,
like just a small plug there, man. Everybody go listen to their podcast. It's Kyle Anzalone and Will Porter. I'll get the name of it right now. You go ahead and talk.
Yeah, no, they're both fucking awesome people, and their podcast is incredible. But I'm kind of in like the bargaining phase because like I listen to Pete's podcast religiously. I'm actually a Patreon to his, and I don't listen to the early episodes. I still wait until they come out on Spotify because I'm a psychopath. I just want my $5 to go to a show and
Yeah.
I'm just going to listen to it on the medium I want. But, like, I know Pete has separated himself from quote-unquote anarcho-capitalism. He's an agorist now. I actually designed his artwork. If you would like some artwork done for your podcast or your Twitch stream or what have you, go to ryanbunting.com/graphic-design.
We'll plug that again later.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we'll plug it again later. But but yeah, no, I love his podcast, and I feel terrible because I know he reached the point where he was like, I'm done with the LP. They handled the COVID bullshit completely ridiculously.
Mm-hmm.
And half of me is like, I completely get it, and I'm with you. And the other half of me is like, I would really like to see liberty in my lifetime. So half of me agrees with him, and the other half is like, I'm gonna do what I can for Joe Jorgensen. And
Yeah.
I will say that I have converted more people to libertarian philosophy in the past year than I have in any other time. So before Joe was running, I had probably 12 people under my belt where I was like, hey, liberty is great. Freedom is good. Like, fuck the government. And they were like, yeah, man, this is great. And then after Joe was running, I had probably 36 more people that were like, dude, yeah, fuck this shit. The two-party system is bullshit. Like, I had a mix of people that were like, I was going to vote Trump, or I was going to vote Biden, and I was able to convert a lot of people. So I'm with Pete in the sense that the Libertarian Party is ultimately effectless. They ultimately do nothing in the grand scheme of things. However, I personally, anecdotally, this is not the norm for every person that's involved with the Libertarian Party. I anecdotally have had a very positive experience with people that have been fed up with the two-party system. And I'm like, hey, freedom is pretty great. And they're like, what's freedom? And I'm like, let me explain. And, a couple hours later, a couple book recommendations, a couple articles, a couple websites, what have you. I'm like, hey, listen to this motherfucker with the Year Zero podcast. He's got good shit. Yeah, I have had an extremely successful conversion rate since Joe ran. So part of me is with Pete in the sense that the LP is functionally useless. But at the same time, I have had an incredible time with people that were either kind of Republican or kind of Democrat that were like, yeah, I would rather not vote for a sex offender. And I'm like, hey, check out the Libertarian Party platform. And if that's what it takes to get people interested in liberty, whether they become anarchists or not,
right?
If I get people interested in liberty, then so be it. And that's kind of my takeaway. I love agorism. I love the concept of, paying people directly, cutting out the government as a middleman, and doing all of these wonderful things. But pragmatically, and I hate to even use that word because of like the Libertarian Party pragmatic caucus where they're like, oh no, fucking Gary Johnson would have been great. It's like, no, Gary Johnson would have been terrible. But part of me is just like, if I can at least get people interested in liberty, that's a win for me. And that's kind of where I'm at. There's like the meme where it's like inside you there are two wolves. And right now inside me there are two wolves. One is like, oh, vote for the Libertarian candidate. The other one is like, just get people interested in liberty. And the latter is winning because I have more people interested in liberty in this calendar year than any calendar year since I have discovered libertarian philosophy, anarchist philosophy, and all of that shit. So it's like, if I can at least get people started down that path and let them kind of, read great books that would help them kind of reach the same conclusion I did. Like there's this really great science fiction dystopian novel called Project Manticore by some fucking douchebag from New Jersey. It does a pretty good job of like explaining why government is terrible and why liberty is good and all that kind of stuff. They can find it on Amazon on Kindle format or paperback format. It's really good stuff. But yeah, it's strange because in my heart of hearts, I know that we're not going to see a libertarian president for at least 50 years if we're lucky. Realistically, probably 100 years.
Okay, I have some thoughts on that. All right, the name of the podcast that Kyle and Will do is called Conflicts of Interest. It's very good. Conflict of Interest. So,
yeah,
it's a very good podcast. They do a lot of foreign policy, but instead of doing it like they did foreign policy focus, they do cover some domestic issues as well. So they've kind of mixed in the domestic issues as well. So it's really good. When it comes to Jo Jorgensen's campaign, I find her to be lacking in messaging. I don't think she's good at messaging. I feel like she's a
little too milquetoast in certain things.
Yeah, she doesn't. Well, and Ron Paul's pretty milquetoast, but she doesn't. See, Ron Paul would say things like legalize heroin, and it doesn't seem like she's getting the headlines for saying things like that. She's getting the headlines for saying stupid shit. Now, Spike, on the other hand, and I told Eric Sawyer this when I first heard Spike Cohen speak, he has a political future ahead of him.
Shout out to Eric Sawyer and the Revolution podcast. Those guys are fucking great. Yeah. Mitch, Eric, all those guys are fucking phenomenal. I'm friends with them all on Facebook. They're great, great people. But continue. I just wanted to plug them a little bit.
Yeah, no, the Revolution Report is really good. Eric Sawyer, Mitch, and Chaz. Yeah. That's just bad luck being named Chaz after Seattle.
Yeah, right.
But so Spike seems to have a better messaging. I kind of look at him as more of a heavyweight, at least moving forward in the Libertarian Party. So I'd keep an eye on him. I also have two wolves fighting within me, and it's, are the Donald Trump memes or the Joe Biden memes going to be better?
It all depends on who wins.
Yeah. It's just what is going to be funnier? I can't quite.
Inside you are two meme folders.
Yeah.
One of which for when Trump wins, and the other for when Biden wins.
Yeah. Because part of me is looking forward to the whole Trump gloating. Like I beat the deep state a second time type deal, and continuing with this whole everybody needs to go to prison. And then another part of me is looking forward to Joe Biden and his dementia moments and all the shit that he's going to say, when he's up there and he's addressing a crisis and he's like, North Korea needs to understand that I am running for Prime Minister of England. And I just don't know what's going to be funnier.
Yeah, there's a very large part of me that wants a Biden victory purely because the fucking meme magic will be it will be exponential.
Yeah.
But the pragmatic side of me is like, well, it's Trump. and that is purely because of Michael Malice, who put it better than I ever could. that Republicans are progressives driving the speed limit.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see
And that is 100% true.
I woke up to an email from Twitter this morning that it was Michael Malice saying we don't deserve him. And I was like, oh shit, what did Trump do this time? And I fucking clicked on it, and sure enough, Trump had posted a meme, and it's Joe Biden sitting in a wheelchair in an old folks home, and it says Joe Biden for president with the P marked out, so it says resident.
Oh, Christ.
I was dying. I'll send it to you. I'll post it when this is over. I have it saved on my phone because I was just cracking up. I was like, this is so fucking funny. Yeah.
It's kind of a luxury that we get to
the troll in chief
experience as non-partisan people. One of the luxuries we get is that we get to experience the partisan nonsense as completely separate, autonomous parties. So every election season is just hilarious because we get to see it without having a horse in the race.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, it's just like you said earlier,
whether Trump
the
wins or not, we don't give a fuck. Whether Biden wins or not, we don't give a fuck. It's just hilarious.
Well, and like I keep saying, man, the petulance that Trump has exposed, I mean, it's like he held a mirror up to these people. Do you think Nancy Pelosi would have had that interview with Wolf Blitzer where she's like, we represent them, we represent them, we represent them? I mean, she sounded like a 3-year-old, like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you would have never gotten this from these people if it weren't for Trump. You know?
Yep.
He broke them. He broke their fucking brains. And it's fucking insanity.
And that's another beauty of being an anarchist is that Trump's election, whether you see it as good or bad, the bottom line is that he exposed the system for what it is, which is a fucking circus.
Yeah.
Like, dude, when I watched about 3 minutes. I watched about 3 minutes of the debate, and the entire time was this. I mean, it was just a straight up fucking circus dance.
I watched the whole thing because I couldn't stop laughing, man. I was just like, this is fucking amazing.
Dude, like, our country's politics has turned into reality television bickering, and it's like
it's not even, and it's not good, like, reality television. It's
yeah,
like,
it's bad. It's like something. That? It's like something that Bravo would put out.
No, it's
like up next is the presidential debate presented by Bravo. You know, they have fucking RuPaul as the moderator, and he's just like, so Donald, what do you think of men wearing women's clothes? And it just devolved into this absolute nightmare. And meanwhile, people like to give libertarian shit, but and I don't mean big L like Libertarian Party, but the libertarian philosophy of do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. The beauty of being a libertarian watching this happen is that it's like, we get to be the bystanders watching Rome burn. And it's like, dude, we've been trying to tell you this for years.
Yeah.
You didn't want to listen. And now we get to watch you scramble to find something to latch onto as it all collapses around your ears. And it's fucking hysterical. It is absolutely hysterical.
All I can ever picture is like that MTV fucking marker coming up going, The Real World, Season 3.
Yeah, dude. Fucking Ryan Seacrest is just like, all right, guys, welcome to presidential debate number 3.
I fucking die, man. And this is exposed so much too. And one of the disappointments that I've had during the Trump presidency is the metal community. And you're a metalhead.
Oh my God.
It's like,
dude, the metal
whoa.
community went full leftist. And it's like, dude, metal is all about brotherhood. It's all about fucking, I'm going to take care of you because I want to.
Well,
dude, I was in a metal.
I always thought it was always like I'm a badass motherfucker, and there's nothing you can do to keep me down. I'm gonna fucking pick myself up, and I'm gonna go. And I don't.
And now the metal
anybody.
community is like, oh, I can only survive if the government helps me. And it's like, how in any fucking way is that metal?
Oh, I know.
Like, I will take my Lamb of God record, my vinyl, and throw it in the fucking garbage.
Dude, Mark Morton, I follow Mark Morton on Twitter. He's one of the worst. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, because, like, I'm a prog nerd, so I love Steven Wilson, who, he has an incredible solo project.
Oh, really?
But it's like, he's a Brit. He's a Brit, so he's pretty far left. And it's like, Steven Wilson, you made some of the most incredible prog records. Like, Porcupine Tree was amazing, and then your solo stuff was even better. But Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up. You don't need to get involved in American politics. You need to worry about fucking Brexit and fucking Great British Bake Off and whether Paul Hollywood gave a handshake to the fucking brown girl in episode 4 of season 8, or series 8, that's what they call it. Like, dude, you have bigger things to worry about. Let us deal with our own shit. Our country's gonna go to fuck, and I am thankful that I am one of the armed ones. And that's all there is to it.
Right. And I'm not one of these, I'm definitely not one of these guys like, just shut up and play music or whatever. I just want you to be able to validate your point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's the thing, because I'm not that person either. I'm not like,
because you could easily be like, okay, truck driver,
like,
shut up and do what you're supposed to do.
If you're a celebrity and you believe a certain thing, at the very least defend your fucking point.
Right.
But most of them don't. Like
no,
Alyssa
most
Milano.
of them think I'm a celebrity, so what I say goes. And that's what I don't like. Yeah, but I hate these people that are like, just shut up and do your job. I'm like, okay, trash guy, you just shut up and do your job.
Exactly.
Look, none of us are allowed to have opinions.
I think most celebrities are out of touch with the real world. I think most celebrities are out of touch with what the average person has to deal with and has to go through.
Right.
However, I don't think that just being a celebrity means that your fucking position is invalid.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna take a stand, you better be ready to defend it, because I'm gonna come at you with my fucking claws out, and I'm gonna call you out on every single little fucking thing.
Right.
And unless you can defend it, you're going right in the fucking garbage. Right in the bin.
Right. All right. So what do you make? Okay. So what do you make of this whole hysteria of Trump will not accept a Biden win? Because I thought Trump made a good point when he said, well, shit, y'all haven't accepted my 2016 victory. They've done everything in their power.
I 100% agree, because here's the way that the 2020 election is going to go. Either Trump wins and the riots get worse, or Biden wins and the riots get worse.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason for that is, if Trump wins, the Marxist-Leninist left is going to have a fucking conniption.
Right.
And they're going to be like, yeah, we need to smash more Starbucks windows. And if Biden wins, the Marxist-Leninist left is going to be like, great, our guy won. Time to smash capitalism. and they're going to break more Starbucks windows.
Well,
So I
don't even know if it's
so
going
I
to
think
be.
we're at the point where no matter what, there is going to be
I think it's going to be more like.
destruction and violence.
I think it's going to
And
be more
it's
like
the same.
I think it's going to be more like if Biden wins, they're going to say, "See, this tactic actually works, so let's keep doing it until we get our way."
Yeah.
You know what
And
I'm saying?
that is basically the leftist ideology.
It's
And
a fucking.
I hate to sound like a fucking like a conservative apologist. I'm not. Like I hate Republicans. I hate Democrats. But goddamn, if I don't hate Democrats more. And that's why, because they're gonna see it as an opportunity where it's like, oh, our guy won, so let's just keep doing the thing that we've been doing, but let's just do it harder.
It's
like
it's an incentive problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it boils down to an incentive problem. And so these people that are out there fucking throwing a hissy fit in the streets, tearing down cities, were the same kids you saw fucking falling down, screaming in the grocery store so the mom would buy them a candy bar.
Yep.
Guess what would have happened if I would have done that? I'll get my mom on this podcast. She'll tell you she would have smacked me in the. I would have gotten beat in the head with a can of Campbell's soup, man. She would have been like, "Get your ass up, motherfucker."
It's something that bothers me almost daily because I grew up very poor. I had nothing. I had nothing in regards to entertainment. What I had was a roof over my head and pasta for dinner.
Yeah.
The cheapest food that money could buy.
Yeah. We lived on oatmeal and peanut butter and jelly for years.
Oh, dude, PB&J was my lunch for majority of my lifetime.
Yeah. My mom would go like 2 or 3 days without eating dinner. You know?
Yeah.
Just so the rest of us could eat. You know?
Yeah. And I have these fucking liberal arts students telling me that I'm part of the problem because I won't vote for socialism. But it's like, dude, I came from poverty and I was very lucky to meet a woman that I love, to buy a house that I love. But dude, I had to work my fucking ass off to get there.
You know what?
You know?
It's easier. Look,
I mean,
it's easier to blame outside.
I'm 31 years old, and I just bought this house. This is my first house.
I was 40.
It may be my fucking last house for all I know.
Right.
I mean, I may die here for all I know. But I had to work my fucking ass off. And the reason that me and Trisha, the lovely, beautiful editor of my first book, Project Manicore.
Hi, Trisha.
The reason that her and I got along so well is because when we first met, she had also been in terrible relationships where she was financially responsible for most things. Mm-hmm. And when her and I met, I was like, hey, man, your money's your money and my money's mine. Like, I will cover my bills, you cover yours, and we're good. And now we're, a little over 3 years into our relationship. But that simple admission, that simple recognition that it's like, dude, I will never have claim to your money, and you won't have claim to mine. Right. We split our bills 50-50 because we want to. That simple concept has meant the world to both of us.
So is that similar to a social contract?
It is, except it's not implied.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, the difference is that it was like, hey, if we're going to be together, you're going to cover your shit and I'm going to cover mine. And She was like, yeah, okay. So we're not getting married through the state. We're just going to hire a lawyer and we're going to write up a contract that protects both of us in the instance of any fucking chicanery. if anyone cheats or whatever, there's a stipulation in there, but it basically grants each other the same rights as a married couple, but without going through the government. We just have a contract between the two of us. And the reason I wanted to do this was because, believe it or not, Roger Paxton of the Lava Flow podcast, he was saying in one episode where he was like, dude, if I had the option to go back in time and not have the state involved in our marriage, I would. And I was like, damn, you know what? I don't think I want the state involved in my fucking marriage. So I was like, hey, let's just draw up a contract between the two of us where if I'm dying, you can come and see me. And if you didn't cheat, you get my shit, you get my money and whatever. Like, let's just draw up a contract between the two of us for what happens when either of us dies or if either of us is a piece of shit. And that's ultimately what a wedding is. You get married through the state, and that contract explains whether, if you cheat, you don't get this, but if you don't, you get stuff, and you can determine who it goes to. You're the executor of the account or whatever.
Right.
We could lay out those exact same methodologies in a private contract. So it's like, why have to have like the mayor come over and be like, oh, I bless this wedding? I don't give a fuck what the mayor thinks. Right. I don't give a fuck what some asshole thinks. What matters to me is what's between me and my wife. And that is ultimately what marriage is. Marriage is a commitment between you and another person. And people get all bent out of shape because they're like, oh, life isn't just money and contracts. And it's like, well, it kind of is.
Yeah, kind of.
And it's like, if I die, my wife gets all my money, but my best friend Joey G gets all my video games. That's how it works. Like, you get my savings account, he gets my Super Nintendo collection. Like, that's how it works.
Right.
And it's very relieving to be like, you know what, dude? The government is not going to have a say in what you or I do, because we will have already worked it out in a contract between the two of us, which is the way the world should be.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that is that was my okay, so I had been married twice before I met Beatrice. And I was not excited about marriage.
Man, third time's a charm.
Well, I didn't want to get married again, and she had never wanted to get married. She had never been married before, and the only reason we did is because every immigration attorney we talked to said your best bet of getting a green card is if you two get married. And we were like, well, we want to be together. We don't necessarily want to be married, but we want to be together. So fuck it. All right. So we got married. And we had to choose, it was the subjective value thing, what did we value more, and so we came to that conclusion, but that was based upon the options that we had available to us.
Speaking of which, Beatrix is fucking great.
Oh,
I love her
awesome.
to death.
She's wonderful.
Trisha loves her to death. Me and Trisha fawn over your dogs. You have some of the best fucking dogs on the face of the earth. We are massive dog lovers, and it's like every day I'm just like, oh my god, look at this picture that B posted. It's 3 dogs in one place, and we're just like, Jesus Christ. I thought about doing this interview on Zoom. If I would have done it on Zoom, I would have been sitting in the bunk, and Boogie would be crawling all over me the whole time. So you would have gotten your Boogie fix. But I was like, oh no, I'll just call him. We both loved your dogs. They are incredible, magnificent beasts.
Yeah,
and I would gladly topple any government if those dogs wished it. What's that, brothers? What's that, Butters? Hate the federal government? You're in luck. I do too.
Yeah, yeah, they're great. Butters is just a tongue with a body.
Yeah, yeah. He is a barrel-chested motherfucker. You guys definitely feed him table scraps.
Actually, she doesn't feed Butters near as much table scraps as Boogie gets. Boogie gets a sausage biscuit every morning when I go get my coffee. So I gotta get him something because he's like, "What'd you get me, motherfucker?" And they, oh man, and they're just so playful. All they want to do is play because they're still young. I mean, they're big for their age, but they're both young. I mean, they'll be 11 months old on Thursday, so tomorrow. So
yeah, Slayer's really he's the patriarch.
Yeah, he's
old. He's the patriarch of the pack, man.
He's old and ornery, man. He's like, I do not give a fuck. Leave me alone. He does every once in a while try to go play with them, and Boogie and Butters will be running circles around him, and he's like looking at us like, "Can you help me? Can you catch one of these sons of bitches?" You know, it's like, yeah, well, good luck, dude. Well, and Boogie's terrified of Slayer because Slayer attacked him a few times when Boogie was small. He never liked Boogie when Boogie was yeah. Well, it was because Boogie was gone with me on the road, and then we would show up on the weekend, and he would be like, "Why is he in your lap, motherfucker?
Who the fuck is this?
Yeah, and
who's this whore you have with you?
Yeah, and intruder, build that wall, build that wall.
Yeah. Oh shit! But you know what? And it's kind of funny that you mention that because. You know, like dogs are instinctive creatures, and we like to think of humans as beyond that, but ultimately humans are instinctive creatures too.
Yeah.
We don't like anything that's different. We don't like anything that, like, we don't know. We hate the unknown. We're like, fuck the unknown. This sucks. And it's like, you know, the unknown isn't all that terrible. You know,
well,
I had a guy come to my house today who is from Mexico. He lives in Newcastle County, Delaware now, but he's from New Mexico. And one of the skills he knows is he knows how to fucking trim and take down trees.
Yeah.
And it's like I had this guy come over to my house, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll trim your trees for this much." And it's like, "Yeah, I will pay you that much." Because I want you to feed yourself. I want you to send money to your family. Like, you know, the left likes to argue the moral aspect of politics, but it's like, dude, I'm a voluntarist, and I willingly give my money to small businesses because those are the ones fighting the fucking hardest to survive in this.
Right.
Hooters is doing all right.
Yeah.
We go to Hooters and we get our big ass beers and we order a dozen wings apiece. But
well,
you know, like
they can't figure out that if you hate corporations and you hate billionaires, give your money to the small businesses instead of the billionaires. And then
whoa.
Then
Amazon's
you shift.
Convenient.
then you shift the power spectrum. Like, see, the thing is that, and this is what I was going to say a while ago, it's easier to blame somebody else for your problems.
Absolutely,
and
which
so
is why
it's much
billionaires
easier.
are the big target now. Oh,
Well,
these big billionaires. And it's like, well, those billionaires provide like 100,000 jobs, so what's really your gripe?
Well, but it's much easier to say, let's have Antifa tear down the system rather than work on myself and figure out how to beat the system. You see what I'm saying? Because then you have to take some responsibility. And so they want to blame others.
That is the reason why political action will never work in the pursuit of freedom.
Right.
It's why political action will never work, because ultimately the general public would much rather have politicians say, whether they do or don't, but they'd rather have politicians say that they're going to do X thing or Y thing versus them taking the responsibility for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's finish this Trump conversation though. Okay. So I argue that Trump is completely right. They never accepted his win in 2016. And just as a side note, Trump is absolutely a result of no one taking responsibility for their own actions. Because if you ever watch him, everything is somebody else's fault. But
Yeah.
he no, they never accepted his win in 2016. So he refuses to say, yeah, I'll accept your win in 2020, which he wouldn't accept the Hillary win. And he never said he would accept the Hillary win in 2016. But I'm arguing that even if Trump wins, Biden won't accept it either.
I agree. I agree.
I think either way, and I posted this the other day, no matter who wins this election, like the United States is destined to balkanize.
I'm all about it. I have been saying since 2015, balkanize the world.
Yeah,
because
you have two abusive parents. You have two good parents that let's just say you have two good parents that are abusive to each other.
I am a child of divorce.
Right.
Balkanize the world.
Yeah. You have two parents that can't get along, that are only staying together for their children's well-being, but the children are miserable. Divorce already. It's over.
Yep. Yeah, because dude, you know what? Like,
and we live in a virtual world. It could be done virtually. New York and California could be part of the same place, and leave Wyoming and Oklahoma alone.
Yep. Because, dude, my parents divorced when I was 7 years old, and when I was young, I didn't understand it. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that has ever happened. Why are they separating? And then when I turned like 15, 16, I was like, you know what? I get it. Because they are happier without each other than they were when they were together. It's the same fucking concept. Separate yourself from the state. Separate yourself from the machine that you claim to fucking hate. You know, the far left liberals are like, oh, we hate capitalism, we hate cronyism and all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they buy all this bullshit on fucking Amazon next day, Prime fucking shipments, and it's like, dude, your heart is in the right place, but you just need to fucking focus your efforts elsewhere.
Right. Right. Well, you brought up cronyism again, and this is a point I wanted to make earlier that I totally missed out on. You remember that kids movie Cars?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember what it's about? My son Talon loved it. That was like his favorite movie. Every day, I want to watch Cars. I want to watch Cars. I want to watch Cars. Do you remember what it was about?
No, because all I can focus on is Owen Wilson going, wow.
All right. So the whole idea of the movie was that this was a small town on Route 66, and they were building an expressway, a highway, that shortcut and went around this town, and they were going to lose all the business that was traveling down Route 66 that had been visiting their town. So they were trying to stop the building of the highway. Right? So they're trying to stop the big developers, the big cronyists, from developing these mini malls on the interstate because it was going to kill their town. And that's what the lockdowns have done to so many people. I slept in a town last night called Georgetown, Mississippi. I don't stay there very often, but every once in a while I'll stay there. And there's a little truck stop, not even enough room for 4 trucks to park in, but they have like 3 diesel pumps. But right across the street, there's a dirt road, and we can park on that dirt road and we can sleep there because the dirt road is kind of a old road that nobody uses anymore because it was for this old railroad station that used to be there in Georgetown, Mississippi. And if you get out and you walk around Georgetown, Mississippi, like, because I take Boogie on a walk, and what I'll do is I'll walk across this field that's right there next to the dirt road, and I'll come up behind this little country kitchen buffet, and I'll be on the main street. And every building, it's 5 buildings. Every one of those 5 buildings is boarded up and closed. One of them still has the big brass door up, and it was the Georgetown Bank. And see, all of these businesses, all that entire little Georgetown, that entire little town, which is made up probably 95% black people, is shut down because of the cronyism and the corporatism. The regulations that were put on them, the big Chase banks and Capital Ones that took over these markets. And the entire time, no matter what the progressive mantra is, they have been cheering for the exact legislation and regulations that have shut down those little towns. That is why Donald Trump was elected. Yep. So they have to understand that Donald Trump was a reaction to the cronyism that progressivism ushered in. And that every time they are making these statements on the benefit of, on the behalf of humanity, they are shutting down these small businesses and giving more and more power to Yellow Cab, giving more and more power to Holiday Inn, giving more and more power to Amazon, and taking the power away from the individuals that are trying to thrive on these small businesses. And so when I look at Donald Trump, an incumbent, the first incumbent I could ever think of that is anti-establishment, I'm like, this is fucking insane. And when you see like Kim Iverson, who's an extreme leftist, totally anti-war, come out and start saying she's going to vote for Donald Trump, it's like, oh shit, some of these people are waking up to what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I think it's very fucking
some
interesting.
Some of these people, dude. And that's kind of where I'm at.
I just find that aspect interesting. I just kind of like look at it and I'm like, yeah, like it makes sense. Why would Georgetown, Mississippi, a town of that's probably, like I said, 95 to 99% black, vote for Donald Trump? Because he wants them to be able to open their businesses back up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, like, I'm pretty much like 97.5% convinced that Trump is going to win.
I'm not.
I'm at the point where it's like,
I'll explain to you why I'm not, but go ahead.
I'm convinced Trump is going to win because he's held the presidency currently. And I am convinced because Joe Biden is literally like, look, Trump and Biden are both kind of like two sides of the same coin in regards to like public policy. Like Biden is completely fucking useless. Like, I would accept the Biden presidency because Biden would get nothing done. But that's kind of the same aspect of why a Trump presidency is not necessarily a loss either. Because ultimately, both of them are going to get nothing done in 4 years. But the reason that people are going to vote Trump is exactly what you said, where these small towns in middle America have no other option, where it's like...
Well, there's Joe Jorgensen.
This is true.
But like I said, the messaging is so bad. You know, it's just
Joe Jorgensen is a fucking... She is an incredible candidate, but the person they have handling her social media accounts
incredibly
and the people that they have... Yeah, the people they have handling her social media accounts, like especially when the BLM thing was like...
Oh, she said worse than
super
that.
Prominent. Jesus Christ.
When she started praising Kamala Harris for getting the vice presidential nomination, I was like, what?
Just for being a woman. And it's like, dude.
I was like,
it's like, dude, Kamala Harris may be a woman, but she's fucking garbage. She's garbage.
Yeah. Talk about Tulsi Gabbard. You know, she knows how to roast a pig.
Yeah. Dude, Tulsi Gabbard was the greatest thing that the Democratic Party ever could have had.
I meant Joe Jorgensen should talk about her, but you can talk about her if you want.
No, yeah. Dude, like, Tulsi Gabbard was the greatest thing the Democratic Party ever had. They had their moment with Bernie Sanders. It didn't work out. And then they had Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi was she's a dying breed. Tulsi's a dying breed. Tulsi is the last anti-war Democrat in the history of mankind. And they fucking pushed her out. They pushed her out.
Michael Malice pointed this out, which kind of blew my mind. Which I don't guess I knew this, but I don't think it had ever clicked. Right? Do you know that prior to George W. Bush, every war had been started by a Democrat?
Yeah.
So Democrats aren't the anti-war party. Never have been.
They never have been.
George W. Bush was a change.
But they've always campaigned on the fact that they're like, oh, war is bad. But it's like, you start all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is why I think Trump's going to win. Only because Tulsi Gabbard was the anti-war Democrat. They bullied her out of the debate. They bullied her out of fucking everything. And then
I think Trump was considering hiring her for a position before she endorsed Biden.
Yeah.
If she would have kept her mouth shut, I think Trump would have hired her.
I think so too, because her domestic policy was garbage. It was garbage. Her domestic policy was straight up socialism. socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it. Her domestic policy was garbage. She wanted to take the guns, due process later. She was very much a Trumpist in regards to firearms.
Mm-hmm.
But she was I think Tulsi Gabbard was the last, truthfully, just, I want to get elected Democrat that was anti-war. And that was it.
Which is why they had to smear her with being a Russian agent.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, yeah, exactly."
But she meant it.
She's a Russian agent.
She meant it. And if you mean it, you're a Russian agent.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to this ACB.
Yes.
ACB. These fucking hearings. Some of the stupidest fucking questions I have ever heard in my life. Cory Booker asked her to denounce white supremacy. She has 2 black children, you fucking lunatic. Like,
yeah.
Maisie Hanolo, or however you say her fucking name, asked her if she had ever committed sexual assault. What the fuck are you talking about? You fucking lunatic. And then she was like, Miss Barrett, you said that gays have a sexual preference, and that is offensive. It's like, what the fuck is offensive about that? It's always been a sexual preference. I prefer sex with my wife. Is that not a sexual preference?
That is why the left will always lose.
They're fucking lunatics, man.
In regards to, yeah. It's why the left will always lose in that regard. Because they play the emotional... They play against emotion. That is their whole thing. Is that they're like, oh, but what about the gay people and the trans people? And it's like, dude, no one gives a fuck about what the gay and trans people do with their lives. Because it has no effect on my life. It has no effect on your life. It has no effect on my wife's life. It has no effect on fucking B's life. It is inconsequential. But they make such a fucking big deal out of it that even the fucking moderate Democrats are like, yo, we need to do something about this. And they end up voting fucking Trump.
Yeah, well, and then did you see? I guess you saw that post I made earlier today of that feminist that was like, she's just promoting the patriarchy and yada yada yada. And I'm like, nothing says woke like feminists against women on the Supreme Court. Like,
yep.
That is just an epitome of woke politics nowadays. Like,
yep.
Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. It's all fucking weird. It's all retarded. I just can't. I look at this shit and I'm like, you people have lost your fucking minds. You know that, right? You do realize that you're broken, mentally fucking broken. Nothing you're saying is making sense.
They don't realize that, though.
No, they think they're making points. That's the sad thing.
They think they're yeah.
And to attack, I mean, John Kennedy asked her after their kids left the room. John Kennedy, the Republican from Louisiana, that dude cracks me the fuck up. He's like, some butthead Boston University professor said that you're a white colonist because you adopted black children, implying you are a racist. I'm like, dude.
Jesus Christ.
That dude cracks me up, man. I love my Louisiana brethren, man. That's where I'm from originally. I love Louisiana. Those people are fucking something else. I ain't even gonna lie to you. If you ever get a chance to go down to Louisiana and just hang out and like meet people, you'll have such a fucking blast. You'll be like, these people are crazy as fuck. But that dude is like such a great representative of Louisiana. Butthead, Boston University professor. I was like, oh, Jesus. I was dying. But yeah, they're calling her a white colonist because she adopted Haitian children. It's like, do you think that you're fucking, are you in any way, shape, or form believe that you are connecting with anybody on these talking points?
Yeah, right?
I just don't. It's got to be that they're just stuck in this fucking Twitter bubble. I mean, that's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, you have to be within the fucking Twitterverse to do that.
And then yesterday, and the Republicans are no better. Like, seriously. Like,
no, dude, statists are statists.
Yeah, no, but this was the fucking most like ridiculous thing. I saw on my YouTube timeline, I got this fucking message, and it was like, ACB destroys the Democrats by holding up her notes. And then the notepad is blank. And it's like, she didn't destroy anybody. She just showed them, like, I'm not reading from anything. I'm telling you what I know and what I think, and like I'm answering your questions honestly. That's all she did. Oh, we have a visitor. Hello.
Hello. She's got fucking noise canceling headphones on.
Is that Trisha? Is she going to be on the podcast with us?
She is.
Kind of. De facto. Yelling at video games.
She's playing Overwatch, so she's screaming at fucking randos.
What does Trisha think about ACB's confirmation hearings?
Trisha doesn't think much of it because she is probably a more dyed-in-the-wool anarchist than even fucking I am.
She's like, it's all a bunch of fucking
I chose her anarchy, and she was like, I am the God King. And that was it.
So what do you make of this whole circus, man? Like, this is insanity.
The way I see it is that Trump wins, violence escalates. Or Biden wins and violence escalates. Either way, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And things are going to get worse, which is why 10-cent 9mm ammunition is now 50 cents per round. Like, Steel Jacket 9mm is fucking 50 cents per round.
Mm-hmm.
Because anyone that has their eyes open sees the writing on the wall.
Right.
And it's not going to get better. Doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who wins or who loses, it's not going to get better. And I just hope for the country. I hope that people realize that things are going to get bad. And I hope that, maybe now people realize, shit, I should have voted for liberty.
I don't think they're gonna see. I think that the corporate press. All right, so I told you I'd tell you why I think Biden's gonna win. So let's get back to that real quick. Here's why I think Biden's gonna win. I think Biden's going to win because the corporate press is running a $1 trillion propaganda campaign to get him to win. And that the average people only see what the corporate press wants them to see. And that any person that is attacking that narrative effectively is getting, kicked off of social media, like we said earlier.
Yes, sir.
And so they're not going to allow they're not going to go out without a fight. And so I think that propaganda machine and the establishment is going to win this fight. I really do.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree. The propaganda machine is honestly,
but
because it's such a divided country that it's ultimately going to come down to media representation. And the general media doesn't care for Trump because they're mostly far left.
Well, I would
So
say
the media representation is going to come down to Biden.
So all right. So one of the things one of my last podcasts was about was which one is better for liberty? Because okay, here's the way I look at the prospects of spreading liberty from now on. Spreading liberty is not going to be the Ron Paul vision of spreading liberty, of informing people and educating people and moving people through the mind towards liberty. I think spreading liberty is going to be more of the agorist form of spreading liberty. And it's going to be showing people how to work outside the system and teach them to operate outside the system and encourage them to operate outside the system without any philosophical backing to that.
No, you're right, because we are at the breaking point where Democrats and Republicans are at the most heated they've ever been. And what's ultimately going to happen is there's going to be a small subset of people that are like, I think this is all bullshit. And those people are going to discover people like Tommy Salmon and Pete Quinones. And they're going to discover agorism where it's like, hey, you do your thing, people pay you to do your thing, and that's the end of the story. And they're going to be like, wow, I can perform a service without government intervention. And eventually that idea will spread where it's like, I can sell a good without government without government intervention. And eventually that idea will just inundate the masses, and it won't matter whether you're an ANCOM or an ANCAP or anything in between, because ultimately what's going to happen is you are trading your product or service for the same fucking amount, and it won't matter.
Yeah. So do you think one candidate is better for that outcome than another?
Honestly, if I were to put my money on a candidate, it would be Trump, just because he pretends to be for free market, but ultimately isn't.
Yeah.
And when people realize what an actual free market is, like they'll be like, "Wow, why did I vote for Trump in 2016?"
Right.
And that'll be it. It'll kind of be like a mass awakening.
See, because I kind of think the opposite. All right. So I kind of think that the Trump supporters are more likely to operate in a gray or black market than Biden supporters are, and that if Biden wins, the Trump supporters will feel so disenfranchised that they will be more receptive to the agorist point of view.
And I mean, look, if you're correct, everybody wins regardless. That's kind of the greatest thing about this is that no matter what, people are going to wake up to the fact that they have been lied to.
They've been
by
duped.
by whatever party they believe in. But once people start doing things and they start making money and they're successful, they're going to, whether they like Biden, whether they like Biden or Trump, they're going to ultimately come to the same conclusion, which is that dealing with people individually is better than dealing with people collectively. And that is the natural state of things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, well, I think that's a good place to stop. Go ahead and plug your website and plug Trisha's website and anything else you got to plug, man.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like science fiction and you like dystopia, I wrote a book that came out in May of 2020. It's called Project Manicore. You can find it on Amazon Kindle. You can find it on Amazon in paperback. I also do graphic design. And if you would like me to design you graphics, you can go to ryanbunting.com, RyanBunting.com, and you can find everything you need right there. You will be emailing me directly. I will talk to you and work with you and do what you need to do. My wife does editing, so if you are writing a book, or if you are, writing for a website, what have you, she can provide all the services you need. She's wonderful. I love her to death. And she will edit your book objectively and fairly. It may hurt sometimes, but she's correct. And Tommy knows what I'm talking about, but yeah,
she did a great job on my book.
Yeah, she is extremely fair, and it's just like it's good, but at the same time, they're like, "Fuck, man, I wish I hired somebody that was a little more lenient." But she truly is. She is very fair, and she will tell you whether something reads properly or doesn't. And yeah, she's phenomenal. So if you want to get in touch with her, you can by all means get in touch with me at ryanbunting.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. All right. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to shut this down. Okay. That was Mr. Ryan Bunting. That was probably the most anarchist conversation I've ever had. It was all over the place. It was like the Chaz of podcasts. So, I'm Tommy Salmons. Late.